Hello, this is Travis at GLMI. I'd like to thank you for joining us for the 2012 Summer Release Training. First, we'll start out with some of the smaller changes, some of the system maintenance items, if you will. Then we'll move on to the clinical enhancements, which I know most of you are very interested in. So firstly, with the accounts receivable, we've made a change to the way the paid claims total is calculated on the dashboards. With the summer release, that paid claims total will now be calculated using the post date rather than the bill period end date. So again, paid claims are now displayed by post date, the current month, rather than the bill period end date. We made some changes to the OASIS verification program in regards to errors. Firstly, with MU 110, a fatal error is not generated when MU 110 is answered NA for Medicare HMO, even though it is rejected from the state as a fatal error. We've gone ahead and corrected our OASIS verification program and will now generate that fatal error to match the fatal error received at the state level. Similarly, with M2200, the error M2200 is blank displays during OASIS verification as a warning, but when at the state level, it is a fatal error. The program has been modified to produce a fatal error when M2200 is blank, and MU 150 is a Medicare HMO. In the OASIS locking and exporting screen, patients were displaying by first name rather than last. We've gone ahead and made that change to sort by last name in the locking and exporting screens to make locating those patients a little bit easier. And then for those users still working in OASIS B or pre-2010, there was an issue with the non-Medicare Medicaid clients not clearing from that screen. We've gone ahead and corrected that, and those should be removed from the list. All right, and a small change was made to the contact entry area. Some users were unable to change a patient AR number within contacts. The AR number would revert to the previous number. This issue was caused by how the program reads the demographic file and has been corrected in the summer release. We've got lots of changes to reports. Firstly, the provider date report. A request was made to add fields to the provider date report to improve ease of use when exporting to Excel. We've gone ahead and separated some fields on there, specifically the provider first and last name. We've also added the site of that provider for those agencies who have multiple sites. And again, this is just for ease of use when exporting to Microsoft Excel. Some more changes to reports. We've gone ahead and added the provider ID to the note no signature custom report as a selection criteria. And that report was modified to request the provider ID along with the starting and ending date range of the notes when creating the report. A change was made on the client census report to include the discharge code as a sort option, and with the summer 2012 release, that will be included. Again, with more report enhancements, there was an issue with duplicate patients on the client census report. Some users are running into issues with that. As long as you are utilizing the medical record number sort option on the client census report, will ensure that the client is counted only once and displayed only once for the selected period of time. There was an issue with duplicate information appearing on the OASIS lock date report. This goes back to the conversion to OASIS C. And the addition of the OASIS C files caused the information to print and be counted twice, and this has been corrected in the summer 2012 release. We made a change to the export files for those agencies who utilize SHP. Again, this is for users who utilize SHP to scrub their OASIS data. We are now including the clinician that signed the assessment and also care team information from demographics for enhanced reporting on the SHP side. There was an issue with the print display and OASIS exported from a file report. It was pulling OASIS B data for OASIS C clients. This report has now been updated and now displays current information for all clients. We had a request to uh, make a change to the billable activity report and include a sort by provider last name. We've gone ahead and added that in the summer 2012 release. And again, those are for those agencies who use that report maybe for payroll purposes and wanted to sort by provider last name. We now have third tier sort options available on most AR reports and other statistical reports. These are included on the activity, billed visit, and unbilled visit reports. You'll now have those third sort criteria available to you. Also on the AR display, AR update and inquire, and the contact update and inquire screens, you'll now have a third tier sort available. This will really help you target information more quickly and also reduce the need to export things to Excel for manipulation, again with a third tier sort. We made a change to the billing recon report or the month-end close report. Previously, that report extracted debit bills only. This report has been enhanced to extract all bill transactions regardless of whether they are debits or credits. Some users were experiencing CGBLs or bill transactions displaying on the activity section of the billing recon report. We've gone ahead and made corrections to prevent that happening in the future. The episode verification report is issuing errors that were not valid. Again, this was some issues caused by the transition to Oasis C. We've gone ahead and cleaned up that report, and you should no longer see those invalid errors. We've made a small change to the scheduling list report to include the client's middle initial. For those agencies who may have clients with the same first and last name, this will help identifying the appropriate client even easier for those clinicians who use this report. We've updated the verbiage on the service code support file screen. Previously, this particular field highlighted on the screen read Medicaid HCPCS code. We've gone ahead and just changed it to HCPCS code. Really, that HCPCS code applied to any billing, not just Medicaid billing, just some obsolete language that has now been cleaned up. Okay, now moving on to the clinical enhancements. I know this is the area that most users are very interested in. The summer 2012 clinical release includes enhancements to patient selection. The record list itself has been changed significantly. Just a couple pages within the assessment itself have changed slightly. You've got a new go-to tool, and for the first time we've got discipline-specific visit notes and assessments. The first change you'll notice within clinical is the patient selection screen. So from Ubiquity's main menu, if you choose clinical assessment, and then clinical assessment care plan, you'll see a new patient selection box that allows for searching by AR number, name, or dates. The patient list will automatically display and sort by last name, and you can resort the list using the column headers, AR number, program, first name, etc. So after the user begins to enter the search criteria, in this case a few letters of the last name, the patient list automatically filters in order to find the client in question. Click on this Select Patient button to access the patient's record list. So this is where you're going to start to see some major changes. Most noticeably here, right here in the patient record list, totally new look and feel. We've got some markers on the screen to help you navigate through the new features. In the upper left near marker number 1, you'll see that the patient's AR number and name will display. Moving over to the right, marker 2, you've got links to demographics and scheduling, plan of care. You'll also get a link to helper tools if they exist previously from previous assessments. Moving down to marker number 3 there on the left, you've got 2 new tabs now. The first for the Oasis and 45 assessments, and another for discipline-specific assessment and visit notes. You've got a new Add Assessment button there at marker 4. You'll see the green plus there replaces the Create New button, and that is where you'll create new assessments. And moving over to marker number 5, you've got new options to group and sort those assessments by like period, assessment type, OASIS status, etc. Okay, just diving into some more of the features here on the clinical records, new clinical records window. Selecting the plus sign to the left in an assessment will display more details on that assessment, things like the OASIS and 45 status, the HIPS and HERG associated with that assessment, when it was signed and by who, when it was reviewed and by who, and also the episode timing and the assessment date itself. Over to the right there, marker number 7, if you hover your cursor over those signed and reviewed check marks, you'll actually be able to see the reviewer's signature or the signature of the clinician who completed the assessment. Down in the lower left, you've got a new modify button. This replaces the modify dates button. This will give you the ability to modify the dates of the assessment as well as delete the record as long as you have the security rights to do so. Moving over to the right there at marker 9, you've got a new OASIS button. This button gives you options to do things like run the OASIS verification and mark and unmark the OASIS complete. Again, over to the right, we have the 45 button. This is going to give you options like a 45 verification, the ability to mark and unmark the 45 is complete. And you can also enter frequencies from that button as well. Over to 11 there to the right, you've got the sign button. It's just that same functionality. Allows users to apply an electronic signature to those assessments. And after signing, and if you've got the preference turned on, it becomes then the review button for use during the quality review process. Over to marker 12, you'll notice that you've got edit and view buttons. Think of this as kind of update and inquire. The edit button will allow you to enter the assessment as long as it's not been signed, enter the assessment and make changes. The view button is just that, just the ability to view the entered information on the assessment. We've organized all of the reports that were kind of scattered throughout the previous clinical record screen into the Choose Report button at the bottom. And you'll see things like flow sheets, your static and dynamic 45s, 60-day summaries, your tracking sheets, and even your clinical inconsistencies available now under that report button. So stepping back just a bit, if you want to enter an assessment, again, much like before, just make sure you have an assessment highlighted. And in this case, we're going to click the Edit button. Once in the assessment, you're not going to notice many changes from the assessment pages themselves. Those were changed in the spring release, and most of those remain identical. What is new and available now in the summer release is an updated Go-To button. So up there at marker 3, if you click on the Go-To button, you'll notice that the screen has a new look and feel. You now have the ability to easily search on things like the OASIS item, the MOO item, the 45 field, or even the name of the page itself. So with the page you would like located, go ahead and click the Go To button in the lower right. We've made a small change to the way that diagnosis codes are added. When clicking on the Add Diagnosis Code button, instead of an edit area appearing to the left, you'll now receive a pop-up or an overlay on the screen where you can then enter your desired codes. Using the lookup button on the diagnosis code overlay, type in a few letters of the diagnosis code description or even a few digits of the code itself. Once you've narrowed down your list, you can click on the code. You can double click that or click Add Selected when highlighted. And with your code selected, you'll still be asked to identify a symptom control rating, the type, date, and you can modify the sequence number once it's been added to the list. Go ahead and click Save to add the diagnosis. We've also made similar changes to the medications page. in the way that you add medications. So now when you select the Add Medication button at the top, and again, instead of receiving an edit area appearing to the left, you're now going to receive that pop-up or overlay where you can enter your medication information. Same process there, just identify a med from the list, document any route, dosage information that may be needed, document your knowledge deficits, give it a date, and click Save in the lower right. And once you've got all your medications added, you can go ahead and click on Check for Potential Medication Interactions. Any interactions that display, go ahead and double click those open and address those per your agency policy. Verify that the pharmacy is correct. And after all interactions have been addressed, go ahead and click the medication review checkbox at the bottom. As I mentioned earlier, for the first time in Ubiquity, you now have the ability to create and use discipline-specific visit notes and assessments or reevaluations. Once in the Discipline Assessment and Visit Note tab, at marker number 1 there on the screen, you can click the green plus sign to add the selected assessment or note. The date will default to the current date. If you need to change that date, you have the ability to do so. And then go ahead and select the desired note or assessment and click Create. So your newly created record will display. You're going to navigate through the visit note in the same manner in which the clinical assessments are done. You can use the black arrows at the top or the Go To button to move through the pages of the note. Just a note here on the vitals page, you'll notice that some items have been added for further documentation, so be sure to pay some special notice there. As I said, navigating through the new notes is much like the assessments that you're familiar with now. In turn, we've added a Go To button within the note to allow you to jump to specific pages within the note. In this case, we're going to take a look at the new intervention screen. So this screen would replace the previous intervention stoplight of the old note, if you will. And what will display on the left are the list of identified interventions that were identified at either start of care or recert. And you can either double click those or highlight and press address intervention to document against those at this visit. You'll notice that interventions are now organized under the goal that they are related to. So once you've got the intervention open for editing, you can document the intervention and say what you did at that particular visit, whether you did patient instruction or intervention, whether it's ongoing or complete. Once you're done, just click Save in the bottom right. You'll see that the interventions that have been addressed now appear on the right-hand side of the screen. The same idea applies on the medication teaching screens. A list of active medications will display on the left, and you can select a medication to teach on by double-clicking or either highlighting and clicking on Teach Selected Med. With the teaching pop-up open, you can then document your teaching and click Save. You'll notice that you do have your English and Spanish teaching guides available to you from this screen as well. Well, that concludes our look at the summer 2012 release. We want to make you aware of resources that are available to you. Be sure to keep an eye on the blog. Release documents will be available there. And now is a good time, if you haven't already, to stay connected with us via social media, whether you prefer Facebook, Twitter. We've got both available for you, and we share the newest news exclusively through those channels. We've also got our YouTube channel available, where all of our training videos are available, including the release training for easy viewing by your staff at any time. We appreciate you joining us and learning more about the summer 2012 release. Have a good day.